I sit in my living room surrounded by the ghosts of my husband. His flannel shirts spill from a cardboard box at my feet, each one still holding the faint scent of his cologne. The late afternoon Colorado sun stretches long fingers across our family photos moments, frozen in time when we were still 4 instead of 3. "Mommy, look!" Micah's voice carries from the next room. "I built a tower taller than Ellie." "That's because you're cheating," my 5-year-old daughter protests. A smile tugs at my lips despite the heaviness in my chest. 3 months, and I still reach for David's hand in the middle of the night. The doorbell shatters the moment, and I twist my wedding ring nervously, a habit I've developed since the funeral. I'm not expecting anyone. I push David's shirts aside and make my way to the door. Patricia and Howard stand on my porch, my mother in, Law's lips pressed into what passes for a smile these days. Howard shifts uncomfortably behind her, eyes darting past me into the house. "We were in the neighborhood," Patricia says, though their home is 20 minutes away. I step aside to let them in, noting how Patricia's gaze sweeps critically over the living room, the unfolded laundry, the dishes in the sink visible from here, the scattered toys. "The children are playing," I explain, though I don't owe her an explanation for how my house looks 3 months after burying her son. "Grandma!" Ellie spots them and races over, Micah following more slowly. He's been quieter since the funeral, watching everything with his father's thoughtful eyes. After awkward hugs and forced small talk about the children's school, Patricia settles onto my couch while Howard perches beside her, like a man waiting for a bus. I offer coffee that they decline. "How are your parents doing?" I ask Patricia, fishing for some neutral topic. Something shifts in her expression. "Actually, that's partly why we came by," she says, her voice dropping to what she probably thinks is a concerned tone. "Mom's arthritis is getting worse, and Dad's heart medication doubled in price last month." "I'm sorry to hear that," I say, genuine sympathy stirring. David's grandparents are in their 80s now. Howard clears his throat and reaches into his jacket pocket. He unfolds a piece of paper and slides it across my coffee table. I recognize Patricia's handwriting columns of numbers, expenses, medical costs. "They're struggling, Elise," Patricia continues. "Their Social Security barely covers housing, and with these medical bills." She trails off, her eyes now fixed on mine with uncomfortable intensity. I scan the paper. It's a detailed budget with a circle total at the bottom. $2,700 monthly shortfall. "I'm not sure what you want me to," I begin, but Patricia cuts me off. "My parents need help," she says flatly. "David would have wanted you to share some of that insurance money." The words hit me like a physical blow. My fingers find my wedding ring again, twisting it around and around as the room seems to tilt. The hospital waiting room. The doctor's face. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Miller. We did everything we could." The children's confusion. "When is Daddy coming home?" Patricia wailing dramatically at the funeral while I made all the arrangements. The night I sat alone at this very table, the insurance documents spread before me. $950,000. An amount that seemed obscene in exchange for David's life, yet wouldn't bring him back to kiss his children goodnight. I remember Patricia's increasingly frequent visits after the funeral, the casual questions about what I planned to do now. Howard mentioning family obligations when I spoke of paying off our mortgage. The mortgage $230,000 released from our shoulders. The college funds established just last week with my financial advisor. Security for Micah and Ellie. That's what David wanted. That's what he planned for. Patricia leans forward, her voice rising. "My parents barely have enough for their medications." Howard jumps in. "They always loved David. You know how close they were." Another memory surfaces. David's grandparents skipping our wedding, claiming the 3-hour drive was too far, though they'd traveled to Patricia's timeshare in Florida that same month. I look up at them, these people who are supposed to be family. The room feels suddenly still. I think of Micah and Ellie, who've already lost so much. Of the future I promised David I would secure for them. "No," I say, my voice quieter than intended but perfectly steady. "This money is for my children's future." Patricia's face hardens into something I barely recognize. What would you do if your in-laws demanded part of your deceased spouse's life insurance meant for your young children? Was Elise right to refuse? Stay with me, because what her mother-in-law does next crosses a line no grandmother should ever approach. Patricia's face hardens into something unrecognizable, the lines around her mouth deepening like fractures in thin ice. Her eyes, so like David's in color, but nothing like his, in warmth, narrow to slits. David would be ashamed of your selfishness, she says, each word precision, cut to wound. After everything our family has done for you. I twist my wedding ring, but keep my spine straight. This isn't about selfishness. It's about protecting Micah and Ellie's future exactly what David intended. Howard rises from his perch on my couch, his tall frame unfolding awkwardly. The family won't understand this decision, Elise. His voice carries a warning, a prediction. When they hear about this, my hands tremble in my lap, but I clasp them tightly together. There's nothing to understand, Howard. The policy named me as beneficiary to provide for our children. That's what I'm doing. After all we've been through, Patricia says, gathering her purse with jerky movements. I've lost my only son, and now you deny his grandparents basic medical care. The door to Ellie's room creaks open, and I catch a glimpse of my daughter's curious face before Patricia storms past her toward our front door. Howard follows, shoulders hunched, not meeting my eyes. This isn't over, Patricia promises, then slams the door with enough force to rattle the family photos on my wall. Ellie's wail rises from her bedroom, where the noise has startled her from her nap. As I rush to comfort her, I realize my hands are still shaking. The call comes 3 days later, as I'm packing lunches for school. David's cousin Annie, someone I've only seen at family gatherings, her voice dripping with artificial concern. Everyone's talking about what happened with Patricia, she says, skipping any pretense of calling to check on us. I just want to know your side before Well, you know how people talk. There isn't a side to take, I say, carefully spreading peanut butter to the edges of Micah's sandwich the way he likes. David's insurance was for our children's future. That's all there is to it. Annie's pause speaks volumes. But surely you could spare something for family in need. Patricia says it's quite a substantial amount. After I hang up, my phone pings with text messages from David's extended family people who didn't bother to bring a casserole after the funeral, now suddenly concerned about family finances. The Facebook notification comes as I'm walking the kids to the bus stop. Patricia's post doesn't mention me by name, but the intent is crystal clear. So heartbroken that some people choose to hoard family money while elderly relatives can't afford their heart medication. David would be devastated to see his generosity twisted this way. 27 sympathetic comments already, including one from David's Aunt Martha. We always knew she was after his money. Gold digger got lucky. Lucky. My chest tightens until I can barely breathe. Lucky to be raising 2 grieving children alone. Lucky to wake up reaching for my husband who isn't there. Lucky to be the target of a whisper campaign by the family who should be supporting us. By evening, Martha has left a voicemail so vitriolic I delete it halfway through, but not before hearing her call me a calculating opportunist who probably celebrated when the insurance check arrived. I spread the printed screenshots across our kitchen table, the table where David and I planned our budget every month, where we dreamed about our children's futures over late-night cups of tea. Now it holds evidence of betrayal from people who share his blood, but none of his decency. The doorbell rings, and I tense until I see Barbara's familiar silhouette through the frosted glass. She enters with a casserole in one hand and a bottle of wine in the other. Thought you might need this, she says, settling into a chair after glancing at the papers on the table. Word's getting around at the senior center. Patricia's been busy. I don't understand why they're doing this, I say, pushing the papers away. David would be furious. Barbara pours 2 glasses of wine without asking. Money brings out the vultures, honey, always has. A memory surfaces, clear as yesterday did, sitting in this very spot, reviewing our life insurance documents after Ellie was born. His voice steady as he signed the papers. If anything happens to me, just take care of the kids. Don't let anyone guilt you out of doing that. His eyes finding mine, serious in a way that had made me uncomfortable then. Promise me, Elise. I hadn't wanted to think about losing him. Now his words feel like armor. I'm not letting them do this, I tell Barbara, something hardening inside me. I'm not letting them twist David's memory or threaten my children's security. Barbara reaches across the table to squeeze my hand. Good. What's the plan? My sister Kate arrives from Arizona the next morning, her fierce hug at the airport exactly what I need. By afternoon, she's helping me craft responses to the most egregious lies, her attorney background proving unexpectedly valuable. Document everything, she instructs, creating folders on my laptop. Every call, every text, every social media post. Mark, David's best friend since college, brings pizza for dinner and confirmation I desperately need. David told me exactly what the insurance was for, you and the kids, period. He worried about Patricia's influence even when he was alive. My financial advisor calls with reassurance about the trust structures we've established for the children. The children's therapist emails her unequivocal support for maintaining stability in their lives above all else. For the first time since the funeral, I feel the weight of decisions lifting slightly. I'm not alone in this. I stand at our kitchen counter, carefully photocopying the life insurance policy. My highlighter marks the beneficiary section where my name appears alone, precisely as David intended. I draft a letter calm, factual, addressing the misinformation without apologizing for protecting my children. Outside the post office, my hand trembles as I hold the sealed envelope. Dropping it into the mailbox feels like crossing a line, like choosing a path I can't return from. But as the envelope slides from my fingers, I hear David's voice again. Take care of the kids. That's exactly what I'm doing. I silence my ringing phone for the third time this morning. Unknown number. Same as yesterday. My attorney says I need to document everything. The children's cereal bowls sit in the sink as I rush Micah out the door. Ellie, grab your book bag, sweetie, I call, swiping the last of David's shirts from the floor. 3 months after the funeral, and I'm still finding his things in unexpected places. Each discovery is both wound and comfort. Micah appears, clutching his cleats. Do I have to go today? The tremor in his voice cuts through my morning rush. He hasn't been the same since Howard showed up at his last practice, cornering him while I was talking to another parent. Your teammates are counting on you, I say, kneeling to his eye level. And I'll be right there the whole time. The soccer field spreads before us, a blanket of 2 green turf beneath the flat Colorado sky. I scan the small crowd of parents. No sign of Howard's silver sedan or Patricia's rigid posture. Not yet. Mrs. Miller? I turn to find Jen Matthews, mother of Micah's teammate. We used to chat easily about fundraisers and birthday parties. Today, her smile seems stretched too thin. I saw Patricia at the grocery store yesterday, she says, eyes not quite meeting mine. She mentioned you're having a hard time. The familiar heat crawls up my neck. Did she mention why she thinks I'm having a hard time? Something about grief making people make strange decisions about money. The Whisper campaign has reached the soccer moms. My family is doing just fine, I say, my voice belonging to some stronger version of myself. I turn away. We're not fine. We haven't been fine since the in-laws decided my children's security was negotiable. Why does Grandma say we have stolen money? Micah's question pierces the dark car interior as we pull into our driveway. Ellie has fallen asleep, ice cream smeared across her cheek. At church, he continues, voice small, I heard Grandma tell Mrs. Harmon that you took money that wasn't meant for just us, that Daddy would be mad. The engine idles, the car's gentle vibration at odds with the violent pounding in my chest. Patricia cornered me after service last Sunday, her voice too loud in the fellowship hall. Your daddy made sure there would be money to take care of you and Ellie if anything happened to him, I say carefully. That's what life insurance is for. And your daddy would never be mad that I'm using it exactly the way he wanted. That night, after tucking the children in, I find Ellie's pillow damp with tears. What's wrong, sweetheart? I ask, smoothing her hair back. Is Daddy mad at us? She whispers. My heart twists. No, baby. Daddy loves us very much. But Grandma said Daddy would want us to share, that we're being selfish. Her lower lip trembles. I don't want Daddy to think I'm selfish. I gather her close, breathing in strawberry shampoo and childhood. Your daddy wanted everything he had to go to you and Micah, to keep you safe. Later, with both children asleep, I open my laptop. The search bar mocks me. Restraining order against grandparents. How has it come to this? I pull David's leather journal from my nightstand, the one I found yesterday while searching for our marriage certificate. His neat handwriting fills the pages, but one entry from last Christmas stands out. Mom pressuring us again about helping with their timeshare. Told her we're saving for the kids' college. She didn't take it well, starting to worry about their influence on the kids if anything ever happened to me. My throat tightens. Even David had concerns about his parents' financial expectations. During those raw first weeks of grief, I'd mentioned the insurance amount to Patricia. Instead of seeing security for her grandchildren, she'd seen dollar signs. Miss Miller, I need your signature here and here. Barbara Winters, my attorney, slides documents across her polished desk. At 62, she radiates the calm confidence I'm desperate to find. This establishes the trust for the children, she explains. You'll be the sole trustee until they reach 25. My signature looks stronger than it has in months. And this is the cease and desist letter to your in-laws. I pause, pen hovering. Will it make things worse? Barbara's kind eyes harden slightly. They've already made things worse, Elise. This puts them on notice that you're done being manipulated. On my phone, I've set the lock screen to a picture of Micah and Ellie at the park, their first genuine smiles since the funeral. It gives me strength when my resolve wavers. My sister Natalie calls that evening. Did you practice those responses I emailed you? Every single one, I say, grateful for her lawyer's mind and no-nonsense approach. Since flying in last weekend, she's helped me rehearse calm, firm answers to Patricia's most manipulative questions. You can do this, she says. Just remember, breathe. First, then respond. Don't let them rush you. The Widow's Circle meets Thursday evenings in the church basement. 8 women in various stages of grief. You did the right thing, Susan assures me after I share Patricia's latest church ambush. My sister-in-law tried something similar with my husband's tools. Like grief gives people permission to claim pieces of your life. Eleanor, a decade into widowhood, leans forward. Dr. Wyatt, the children's therapist, said something that helped me. Sometimes limited contact is the healthiest choice, especially with family who refuse to respect boundaries. I've asked Sarah to come with Mark next time your in-laws visit. Carol, Mark's wife, says as we walk to our cars, safety in numbers. They're less likely to make a scene with witnesses. You don't have to. We want to, she interrupts, squeezing my arm. Mark would do anything for David's kids. So would I. The school's number flashes on my phone Monday afternoon while I'm tutoring. Mrs. Miller? This is Margaret from the front office at Lakeside Elementary. There's been an incident involving your mother-in-law. My blood turns to ice water. She attempted to sign Ellie out of class. When we explained she's not on the approved pickup list, she became insistent. Security escorted her from the building. The pencil snaps in my grip. Is Ellie okay? She's fine. Still in class. Your mother-in-law didn't make it past the front desk. I'll be right there. 20 minutes later, I'm staring at security footage of Patricia arguing with the school secretary, her finger jabbing the air. Through the office window, Howard can be seen waiting in their car, engine running. My hands shake so violently that I can barely sign the incident report. The principal watches me with concern. We're implementing stricter pickup procedures for all students, he says. But you might want to consider additional legal steps. I nod, unable to form words past the knot in my throat. They tried to take my daughter, my little girl. The line hasn't just been crossed, it's been obliterated. What would you do if your in-laws tried to take your child from school without permission? I now face the most difficult decision any widow could imagine. I've tried compassion, I've tried boundaries, but when someone comes for your child, everything changes. I want it all in writing. I tell my attorney, Claire. My voice doesn't waver like it did 3 months ago when I first sat in this leather chair, drowning in grief and confusion. Every detail of what they did at Ellie's school. Claire nods, her pen scratching against the legal pad. Afternoon light slants through her office blinds, casting prison bar shadows across the polished desk between us. "We'll document everything," she says. "The security footage is particularly damning. The cease and desist letter will go out tomorrow." I close my eyes briefly, remembering the panic that had seized my chest when the school called. "Your mother-in-law attempted to pick up Ellie today." The secretary's voice had been carefully professional, but I heard the undercurrent of alarm. She became quite insistent. "We have her on camera arguing with the staff." There was a man waiting in the car with the engine running. Later that evening, Mark runs wires along my baseboards, while his wife Jenna keeps the children occupied with board games in the kitchen. "I'm putting a camera right here," Mark says, gesturing to the porch ceiling. "Full view of anyone approaching the front door." "Mom, why are there wires everywhere?" Micah asks, watching Mark work. His ISO, like David's, track the white cable snaking along the ceiling. "Mark's helping us make our house extra safe," I explain, kneeling to his level. "Because of Grandma?" he asks quietly. My heart clenches. Sometimes grown-ups make choices that aren't okay, and we need to have boundaries. My phone buzzes with yet another voicemail. Patricia's voice wavers with practiced tears. "Elise, there's been a terrible misunderstanding. I just wanted to surprise you by picking up Ellie." Delete. The notebook sits open on my kitchen counter. A growing chronicle of contact attempts. Howard's email this morning claiming I'm becoming paranoid. David's old college roommate offering to talk some sense into both sides. Patricia's sister calling to explain how absolutely devastated Patricia has been, how she's barely eating over this misunderstanding. I document each attempt with clinical precision. Date, time, method of contact, exact words used. My financial advisor calls to confirm tomorrow's appointment. The irrevocable trust papers are already drawn up, with me as the sole trustee. By week's end, David's insurance money will be legally protected from his parents' reach forever. My phone buzzes with a text from the school principal. New security procedures implemented for all students. Pickup ID check now mandatory. Thank you for bringing this issue to our attention. Barbara appears at the back door with a casserole and news that 3 other mothers from Ellie's class have offered to join a carpool group. Word travels, she says simply. Everyone wants to help. The phone rings again. Howard's number. "Please, Elise, just 5 minutes to explain," he begs when I finally answer. "Patricia didn't mean any harm. She just misses the children. She tried to take my daughter without permission." I say, my voice steady. "There's nothing to explain." I hang up as my phone chimes with a text from David's cousin Kevin. "Just heard what happened. I'm so sorry. My mom told me the whole story Patricia's been spinning. It's disgraceful. Let me know if you need anything." The doorbell rings, and I freeze until Mark calls. "Just the flower delivery, Elise." A bouquet of lilies sits on my porch with an unsigned card that reads simply, "Please call us." I add the delivery to my notebook and place the flowers in the compost bin. That night, after changing my cell phone number and deleting my Facebook account, I imagine Patricia receiving Claire's formal letter at her Thursday bridge club. The thought brings a strange sort of peace. The next morning brings a letter in Patricia's flowery handwriting. "I just wanted to surprise you by picking up Ellie for ice cream. You're making this into something terrible when I was only trying to be a loving grandmother." I add it to the notebook without opening the envelope fully. Sunday arrives with David's pastor finding me after service. "The Bible teaches us about forgiveness, Elise," he says gently, "even in the hardest circumstances." I meet his gaze steadily. It also teaches about protecting the innocent. At home, I watch Micah and Ellie play in the backyard, now secured by new fencing. The cameras record their movements, capturing their first genuine laughter in weeks. When someone crosses the line from emotional manipulation to potentially endangering your children, is forgiveness possible? What boundaries would be enough? I don't have all the answers yet. But for the first time in months, I fall asleep without fear. Claire's letter delivered, my home secured, and the children safely mine. I arrive at the church 20 minutes early, my hands still smelling of the lavender lotion I applied to calm my nerves. The sanctuary sits empty, late afternoon light streaming through stained glass windows and casting pools of blue and amber across the worn pews. "You've got this," Sarah whispers, squeezing my shoulder before sliding into the pew directly behind me. My sister opens a leather-bound notebook on her lap, pen poised. Documentation, other lesson I've learned the hard way. My children are safely at Barbara's house, building a fort from sofa cushions and blankets, blissfully unaware of this meeting. Pastor Jim emerges from a side door, his measured steps echoing in the empty sanctuary. He nods at me with cautious eyes. "Reconciliation is always worth pursuing," he says, settling across the aisle. The heavy wooden doors creak open, and Patricia and Howard enter. My breath catches. They've dressed as if for Easter Sunday. Patricia in a pressed navy dress with pearls, Howard in a suit and tie. The image strikes me as performative, like actors in a community theater production about grieving grandparents. Howard's hand rests at Patricia's back as they approach. Patricia dabs at her eyes with a pristine handkerchief before they even reach the front pew. "Thank you for agreeing to meet," Howard says, voice pitched for the pastor's benefit. I twist my wedding ring but catch myself, forcing my hands to lie still. This nervous habit belongs to a different version of me, a woman, who didn't yet understand what she was capable of protecting. "Elise," Patricia begins, voice wavering perfectly. "We've been absolutely heartbroken. 3 weeks without seeing our grandchildren." She pauses, dabbing again at dry eyes. "David would never have wanted this division in our family." Behind me, I hear the soft scratch of Sarah's pen recording every word. Howard leans forward, elbows on knees. "We're hoping we can work out a compromise. Perhaps regular Sunday visits after church? Or maybe we could take them for ice cream once a week?" Pastor Jim nods encouragingly. Family connections can be healing for children who've experienced loss. Patricia seizes the opening. Children need their grandparents, especially when they've lost a parent. She extracts a photograph of David as a boy on his grandfather's lap. "Family is everything to us." Her voice drops to a confessional whisper. "And perhaps just a small portion of David's money for his grandparents. They're struggling with medical bills, and Micah and Ellie have so much now." There it is. The mask slips. I rise slowly from the pew, shoulders straight as if invisible strings pull me upward. When I speak, my voice carries clearly without raising it. 3 weeks ago, Patricia attempted to remove my daughter from her elementary school without my permission. I state this plainly. Patricia's mouth opens, but I continue before she can spin another narrative. The school has security footage of her arguing with the secretary, claiming I'd asked her to pick up Ellie for a doctor's appointment. Howard was waiting in the car with the engine running. I turned my gaze to Pastor Jim. My husband has been dead for less than 5 months. My children are still having nightmares. I withdraw the cease and desist letter from my purse, sliding it onto the pew between us. "This was delivered to your home 2 weeks ago. I assumed you would respect it." Howard looks away. Patricia's face hardens, the performance forgotten. "I'm here to be absolutely clear about my boundaries." My voice remains steady. "David trusted me to protect our children. That's exactly what I'm doing." I hold up one finger. "Before any contact with Micah and Ellie can resume, you will both attend therapy, not church counseling, but professional therapy with someone who specializes in family dynamics and respecting boundaries." Another finger rises. "There will never be any discussion of finances. Not with me, not with the children, not with extended family." A third finger joins the others. "You will send a written apology to every family member you've spoken to about my hoarding family money, correcting the lies you've spread." The sanctuary falls utterly silent. Even Sarah's pen has stopped moving. These conditions are non-negotiable. They are not the beginning of a negotiation. They are the entire negotiation. Patricia's carefully constructed facade shatters. Her face contorts, eyes suddenly dry and blazing. "You never deserved our son," she hisses, rising to her feet. "He would be disgusted by what you've become." Howard reaches for her elbow. "Patricia, please." But she jerks away, glaring at me with naked hatred. Pastor Jim's mouth hangs open, shock confirming what I already knew. She has shown her true colors to someone outside our close circle. I gather my purse without rushing. Sarah stands behind me, her presence a wall of support. I say nothing more. There's nothing left to say. I walk out of the sanctuary, back straight, steps measured. The heavy door closes behind us with a definitive thud. Sarah's arm slips around my shoulders as we walk to my car. David would be so proud of you, she whispers. For the first time in months, I know with absolute certainty that she's right. I kneel in the soft earth of my garden, pressing seedlings into the soil with dirt-crusted fingers. The Colorado spring sun warms my shoulders as birdsong fills the air. When I first planted this garden, each shovelful of dirt had felt like moving a mountain. Now, a year later, my muscles know the rhythm of growth and renewal. Mom, look how high we got. Micah's voice carries across the yard. He stands on the half-finished treehouse platform, safety harness secure around his 8-year-old frame. Mark steadies a beam beside him, his carpenter's hands guiding my son's smaller ones around a hammer. 10 more inches and we'll see clear to the mountains. Mark promises, the same way David would have. Beneath the oak tree, Ellie sits cross-legged with her sketchbook, humming the old Beatles song David used to sing her to sleep with. Her pencil moves in sure strokes across the paper. At 6, she already shows more artistic talent than I ever had. I rock back on my heels, surveying our home truly ours now, free and clear. No mortgage, no cloud of uncertainty, just the sanctuary David wanted for us. Yesterday's therapy session loops through my mind. You're entering a new phase, doctor, Winters had said, her eyes crinkling with approval. There's grief still, but it's not consuming you anymore. She's right. I can look at photos of David now without that immediate knife twist in my chest. Last week, I even laughed at wanting a ridiculous snapshot of him wearing Ellie's princess crown. It was the first time my smile reached my eyes in a photograph since the funeral. Inside the house, on my bedside table, sits the memory box we created together. The children each chose 5 objects that reminded them of their father. David's favorite coffee mug with a chipped handle, his pocket watch, the Riverstone mica found with him on their last camping trip. Tangible pieces of a life well lived. The support group meets on Thursdays now. Last month, a newly widowed mother of 3 clung to my hand after the meeting. How did you get through those first months? She'd whispered, her eyes wild with fresh grief. One breath at a time, I told her, remembering my own desperate days. And by protecting what matters. I wipe soil from my hands and glance at the pile of mail on the patio table. Howard's letter arrived yesterday, his 3rd since our confrontation. Unlike the others, I opened this one. His handwriting, careful and measured, filled one page with genuine contrition. His therapist's business card was paper-clipped to the corner proof of his commitment to our conditions. Patricia's name was notably absent from the signature. Some wounds may never heal, and I found peace in accepting that reality. Micah hammers another nail, his laughter floating across the yard. Dr. Jameson, their therapist, noted last week how much more secure both children seem now. It's a sound that was missing for so long after David died. Elise, calls a familiar voice. David's cousin Rachel appears around the side of the house, her 2 children rushing toward mine with excited shouts. I brought that children's cookbook I promised Ellie. That night, I host our Friday dinner hour new tradition. Barbara brings her famous apple pie. Mark and his wife Jenny argue good-naturedly about baseball. My sister Lauren FaceTimes from Arizona, considering a permanent move closer to us. The dining room table that once witnessed Patricia's manipulation now holds laughter, genuine concern, chosen family. I've learned that family isn't always blood sometimes. It's built from the wreckage left behind. At the Widow's Financial Literacy class I teach monthly, I share my story carefully. The David Miller Memorial Scholarship at Micah's school helps another child who lost a parent this year. The college funds for my children grow steadily, the future David envisioned secured. The sun begins its descent toward the mountains. As I settle onto the porch swing David built our first summer in this house. My fingers trace the carved initials in the armrest. D+E. Later, sorting through the hall closet, I find David's old jacket pushed to the back. My hand dips into the pocket, and my fingers brush against paper-folded note I'd never found before. In David's confident handwriting, always remember, I love you 3 more than anything. I press the note to my chest as golden light spills across our yard, our home, our lives rebuilt. Not the same, but stronger in the broken places. We're okay, David, I whisper, just like you wanted us to be.